All right, so this is how men rate women on OkCupid. You see that's a pretty reasonable distribution from least attractive on the left, most attractive on the right, and then how women rate men. So women are very harsh judges of male attractiveness, which I think kind of goes to women being poor assessors of where they stand in the dating marketplace, which is typically why they end up chasing boys who they don't get commitment from.
So what do we do about that?
What do you mean?
How do we fix that?
Well,
stop giving up the pussy.
Even if you don't.
Well, I mean, you're kind of f***ed because you've already poisoned the well to some degree, because once, for example, if you were rich and then you became poor and then your living conditions decreased substantially, do you think that would be hard to cope with? Like, you lived in a really nice house and now you're living, you've got a roommate and you're living in the slums. Would that be hard to cope with?
I think it depends how mentally strong you are.
Well, so what ends up happening is, because women end up having sexual access to men outside of their league, this will happen by, okay, you hook up with a professional athlete and you're a 19-year-old nobody college girl. You're going to start comparing the average 19-year-old college boys who are kind of within your league, who you probably should be dating. You're going to be like, well, I've had access to this guy. He's this attractive. He's got this much money. He's got his own place. He's not living in a dorm room with 3 other dudes and we got to put a sock on the door. No, he's got his own place. Fantastic place. He's super attractive. He's super fit. He's got money. He pays for dates, all this stuff. Then you're going to go back to the guy who would actually give you long-term commitment and a relationship, and you're going to be like, damn, what the fuck? So you're going to have resentment for the guy who's actually in your league. So you guys are kind of fucked.
I mean, personally, I've never gone like outside of my league. Like, I've never done.
You think that, but.
Well, what I'm saying is like athletes and all that. So I know, like, obviously that isn't. I know personally that's not realistic.
I'm not saying all women have dated professional athletes. I'm using it sort of as an example to articulate the point. They might not necessarily have status, but they could be exceptional in one way or another, whether it's their looks or their personality. And then you look at all the other men. Maybe it was a guy who was really good in bed, and then all the other men after that you're gonna be thinking about the guy who really had you wired and figured out. Or you were able to hook up with a really attractive guy. All the guys who come after don't live up to how attractive he was. Whether that's his personality, his looks, how good he was in bed, whatever.
But like, don't men do the same though? Like when they date a like super hot chick or like someone they truly love, like, you know?
No, because here's the thing, right? So while some men maybe rarely get lucky, again, if you're an average guy, if you step to a really hot girl and you make yourself sexually available to her, if you step outside of your league and you step to a girl who's 1, 2, 3, 4 points more attractive than you, and you're like, hi, I really like you. I would like to have sex with you. As men, we get rejected on the front end. We get rejected immediately. However, as a woman, if you step to a guy who's more attractive than you, whether you know it or not, and you make yourself sexually available to him, you don't get an instant rejection. You get, I will gladly have sex with you. I will never, but you, whether he tells you this or not, you will never get commitment from him. You might have sex with him once. You might have sex with him multiple times. He might even he might even string you along for weeks or months or longer. And he's using you for sex, but just on the basis of your looks alone, he's disqualified you from a long-term relationship with him. But he enjoys the easy access to sex. And so, no, it's totally different, because as a woman, if you're unattractive, if you're pleasant and you make yourself sexually available to a guy who's more attractive than you, he'll take you up on it, but you'll never get the ring, you'll never get the relationship.
Weren't you just saying though that you like don't like when girls don't put out on the first, second, or third date though?
What? I'm not sure what that has to do with anything.
Well, in the position, the kind of the caveat here
he's not saying whether or not he likes it if a woman puts out on the first, second, or third date, but rather that if a woman puts out on the first, second, or third date with other men and then says, you must wait, that's where he has the problem, right?
I see.
Okay, so I don't disagree with you at all. I actually do agree with your position, but it's like, for example, like I've heard like on TikTok from a lot of women that they say that once a man, you know, who's like average, let's say, and he gets a girl who is, you know, above him, and it doesn't, and during that relationship, his like view of himself raises, so they often end up cheating, and they kind of, because they think that, oh, I can get this girl who is way hotter than me, so that means I can get others. So I've heard
Is this
that
like
view. So like
the
that's
Billie
what I'm
Eilish
asking.
quote, like you give an ugly man a chance and he thinks, I don't know what the fuck she, that
Yeah.
bullshit.
Is that
Something
what
like
you're
that.
talking
Fucking
about?
man
Like,
hater
don't fuck
shit
an ugly
said.
guy, because then like it goes.
Well,
But
that's
again-
that's not what I'm saying. But it's like how you pointed out. That's like once a woman like gets to, you know, a man who is like above her, and then she kind of raises her. She raises her standards, so it's like she doesn't give other men a chance. So I'm kind of like talking in that kind of similar scenario where a man gets with a hotter woman, and then they think of themselves as way more important because they can get it.
So there's two things. One, he's probably bringing something else to the table, whether that, I mean, all the women here say, I think you were saying, well, if he can be really hot, but if he's not bringing stimulating conversation or intellectual, then whatever. So men can attract women in more ways than just their looks. They can make up for it either with status. You know, you look at certain rappers or musicians, these men are not always particularly attractive, but there's no shortage of women who are ready to date them or have sex with them. So there's status, there's money, and then there's personality. Some men have very endearing and charming and or Riz or whatever you want to call it, personalities, and they can get women this way. However, though, the second component here is that while I'll grant that there are ugly men that can get with more attractive women, this is absolutely dwarfed by the amount of women who are sleeping with men outside of their league.
Yes,
so sure,
that's
yes, there's ugly men who got a better looking woman.
And then
But
they
it's
kind of
not
just,
as common. It's not nearly as common as the
yeah,
reverse.
I'm not saying that it's common. I'm just like asking, like, how does that correlate? Like,
What do you
in
mean?
your opinion, like, because, you know, that's fine because you did answer my question. So
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
yeah.
I have a question for you in a way. Like, I think that's so subjective too, because sometimes there are guys that are dating or seeing women that are substantially or just more attracted to them, and they're just grateful in a way, just grateful, just very loving and adoring of their partner, of like, yeah, you know what, she is out of my league. I'm not gonna cheat. I'm kind of self-aware. I'm a 5 and she's like a 10.
Yeah.
Why would I cheat? So I do think that there are definitely men that get women that are out of their league.
That's a real scientific
Yeah,
finding.
that get
Yeah,
out of
I'm
the league,
not-
and they're
I'm
just
not
like,
saying there's
I
not.
love you, and I'm not messing this up.
Yeah, I'm not saying I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm not disagreeing with you in any way. It's just about like the point of where like the women, once they get like a hot man, like they kind of tend to go after him, like for the you know,
The added status.
they raise their standards after getting with them, which is what Brian mentioned, and I'm kind of like piggybacking on it, like on where you know, how, again, I've seen on TikTok, like women talk about it, how their man, you know, like did kind of a similar thing where they cheated on them because they thought that they could do better.
No, I agree, that's real.
after getting. So it's like that's just the only like.
No,
Yeah,
I
so-
definitely understand that
so
side of
I'm
it
not
too.
like arguing.
Yeah, no, I was just-
I completely agree with the
Both,
points.
yeah.